What's up, everyone, and welcome to JMD Puzzling. I have to immediately come out the gate here apologizing. Okay, um, and this is going to be a video, or at least the first part of this video is going to be like a see what happened was. um, okay, so um, this was supposed to be the start. This video was supposed to be the start of the puzzle number 19, the lines. Okay, and I doing the border. Okay, doing the border and stuff. And while I started it like I normally do, I put my phone on my little stand, set it up. Which I normally I pretty much set it up on the funny enough, the deep freezer that's beside where the table is, on the corner of it, and point it, hit the record, which I did. And I went through my whole beginning box opening, talking about the puzzle and how excited I was about doing it, and going through like carefully opening the bag and pulling it stuff out, making sure to try to leave as much of like the puzzle dust in the bag to try to keep your area clean as you work or whatever. I went through all that, right? um and it had this nice, wonderful talk about like starting to go through the cull through and what was awesome about culling through to even like separate out all your edge pieces and stuff like that, which I mean I will briefly talk about here in a minute. I went through the whole thing, at least an hour and a half to 2 hours of video that I recorded doing the edge, and I got to a certain point where I realized that I was going to have to go back through the pieces, because I was roughly guessing that I had about 4 pieces that I had missed the first time, to try to finish it. And so I took a break, ate supper, because my girlfriend had made supper and had it ready. I ate supper, took a break for a second, then came back and started the second video, finishing it up, which you will get to see, because the second video I do have. But for some reason, and I still to this date don't know why, but for some reason, the entire first part of the video, the first 2 hours roughly or so of video, did not save down. I do not know why. I don't know if it was the file was too large and my phone didn't have enough space to save it, or something else happened. I have no clue. But I completely lost it, and I didn't even know until hours later when I just was going to actually move the file over to the computer so I can do the editing and get it prepared to put out for y'all. And it wasn't there. I looked all over my phone and it wasn't there. So, unfortunately, you will not be able to get to see any of that. So I do, again, apologize right out the gate on that. I do have the extra footage at the end to let you see the end result, and I'll show that here in a minute. But I did want to stay real quick. I did want to go over how I felt about and why it's so interesting to actually go through that culling process, to separate out your edge pieces and stuff like that. For one, because like for me, doing that cull through, doing the edge is so time consuming and sometimes can be extremely boring. Very, I'm sure a lot of people probably even consider it maybe the most boring part of putting a puzzle together. But what I do find very interesting right off the bat with any puzzle is that is the time, that is the moment, even though it takes a long time sometimes, depending upon how many pieces it is. This, in this case, was 1,000 pieces, so it did take a second to go through all those pieces to try to separate them out, and you're trying your best to not miss any, right? But what is very interesting is that for me is that's your initiation to that specific puzzle. That is your introduction to it. That is where you learn about that puzzle. And what I mean by like on the previous puzzle on the Salvador Dali, if you remember, if you watched that series, and this, I guess, is a spoiler alert to some degree if you haven't, but maybe not really. It was just regular standard pieces. As soon as I started going through it, I immediately could tell there's nothing like crazy about these puzzle pieces. They're all standard pieces, which immediately told me what this puzzle was going to be like. I knew immediately it was going to be a decently hard puzzle because uh, when you stack the fact that it was just standard pieces, so it's going to be harder to like distinguish between pieces just on shape. But then you start looking at the color arrangements of the puzzle and things like that. If there's any kind of large sections that are solid color or something like that, you know immediately that's going to be hard. That section is going to be hard. This section is going to be hard. Maybe these couple of sections I can work through pretty quickly. But that's kind of tells you how that puzzle is going to run. And I think that is a very important part of any puzzle. Kind of giving you that idea, of what's going to go forward in this puzzle, or at least a rough idea. Maybe not all of the time do you distinguish that, but so with this puzzle, the one thing that I immediately jumped out is the fact that all the pieces are crazy cut. Okay, I'm talking about some of the craziest cuts I've seen out of a puzzle. So stacking that, and while a lot of times crazy cuts can actually be beneficial to you because it can help you distinguish a piece fairly quickly, as long as they're like moderately. I think as long as they're kind of a midline crazy cut. So like you have some regular ones and then you have some crazy ones, so it makes it a little bit like easier to distinguish certain, like at least you can say half the puzzle or a little bit more, it will be easier to distinguish. But like the crazier, I think it's kind of these extremes of a puzzle. If a puzzle is like straight standard cut versus exceedingly extreme in cuts, that can, both of those ends of the spectrum can make a puzzle difficult. Because you never know, especially with the most extreme, you never know exactly what you're looking for, because some of the pieces are really kind of small, and then some of the pieces are very large. They look like double pieces with multiple, connections. And so whenever you're looking at any particular area, you're not really knowing whether or not you need a kind of a bigger piece there or a smaller piece there. And while sometimes you can go with the trend of how the pieces are running in any particular area, sometimes you can't. That's the problem. So immediately when I saw this, and stacked on top of that this is the lines. It's a solid white background with just black lines going all over the place. I immediately thought like this is possibly going to be a really hard puzzle too, and that you don't even really have anywhere to just start or go, because there's no distinction of like color or pattern or like an object or something like that you can focus on. It's just white and black. That's just lines. So this is going. I can immediately tell just from that this is probably going to be a fairly difficult puzzle. And I mean, if I'm being honest, doing the actual edge in itself was quite difficult, just to do the edge. So, so yeah, that's how I feel about when you're going through, culling through a puzzle initially. It's that's the time where you can really hone in and like break down for yourself what kind of puzzle this is going to be, maybe even how you can, how you can approach, or at least start to reason how you can approach that puzzle, uh, depending upon, the conditions of those pieces. So yeah, I think it's a very important part, even though it can be very, very boring. Understanding that and recognizing that and taking that time to understand and recognize that can maybe make it less boring. So anyways, all right. So without that out of the way, that's already 10 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and move here on, show you the remainder of the video that I actually still have for you. So that's what we're going to get to here. And again, thank you for all your support and everything. I will try my best to make sure in going into the next episode, I have enough space for a particularly long video if it has to be. And hopefully it will save down with no problems. I will figure that out so that this won't happen again. Hopefully, but again, thank you very much for joining. If you before I get to the video to end it out, if you are new here, welcome. Thank you for joining. Check out the rest of the channel, the videos and stuff if you would like. Subscribe, all that good stuff. Like, share, comment, things like that. You can check out the other channels over here. All right. JMD, JMDPLAY, puzzling. If you like any of those, check those out. Subscribe over there to those as well. It's free for you. Helps out the channels tremendously. Go up to Patreon. Okay. $2. You can support any of the channels that you would like to help grow those channels, help grow Patreon, help grow JMD Nation. And if you want to go even further, I have merch now. Okay. I have merch. PinkInnovations.com collections, JMD merch. Okay. Check that out. I have something for every single channel over there, and puzzling has extra special stuff over there. So check that out. All right. And if you want a little discount on the merch, then again, go to Patreon. Members of Patreon get a discount off of the merch. So just one more reason to support there at Patreon. And even if you don't decide to get anything from the merch store, if you need any kind of custom work for anything, shirts, hats, cups, whatever, vinyls, whatever the case, go to pinkinnovations.com. This is my girlfriend's business. It's what she does. It's her business website, and she will do everything she can to try to meet your custom needs. So to go there, again, if you have some kind of custom work, but while you're there, again, check out the merch. You might find something you like. So thank you very much again. Anyway, I'm going to get out of here, get to the video so you can finish out and see the end result of the lines edging. So thank you, and until next time, peace. JMD Puzzle. Let's get to it. Okay, so this is where we stand. I had to take a break for a little bit and eat and all that. This is where I've come up. It has been a little. It's been a little weird. If you notice, maybe in there at one point I was having to actually move because my corners actually wound up being the opposite, especially the way I was working it. And I have all these pieces which I thought were edge pieces either are not edge pieces, or they don't fit together. Like, none of them actually seem to fit together in any kind of way. They also don't seem to fit with anything that is yet is still missing, which is here, 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 and here. Or at least I think that that's right. So, and none of these pieces seem to be working. Of course, most of this down here I already thought was not going to be it. So, the unfortunate part is I feel like now I've got to go back through the other pieces. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cull back through those and see if I can find any pieces that I missed. At this point, it looks like there might be quite a few of them. This piece is very odd, the way this is working here. So it may have just been that it looked like a funny piece that didn't look like it had any kind of edge, but it did. These I'm not completely sure about. They should have been a little bit more evident. I can only assume, because some of these are so straight and seem so perfect, but apparently they are not edge pieces. Some of them are at weird angles, which, you know, kind of makes me feel like, yeah, they're definitely not edge pieces, but they were straight, so I kind of just assumed they might be. Anyways, so we're going to cull back through here and see what we can figure out. See if we can find these missing pieces. So let's go. Found one. Found two. Hey, number 3. And there we go. It is complete. We found number 4. All right. All right. So we finally have completed the entire border of the lines. If you saw what I was doing after I found the last one, since I was already pulling out all of the pieces that had like straight edges or even somewhat curvy edges, I went ahead and finished up what little bit I had left to go ahead and pull them out. So that's pretty much what all these pieces are pieces that have some sort of a straight edge ish curvy to some degree or whatever. And so that just shows, you know, how complicated even trying to do the border for this puzzle. It's been a challenge because of all that. That's, you know, having to question that many pieces. So here's all the rest. Go ahead and put them up. So yeah, that will finish out this episode. We just see, you know, the inners, the jagger. We've got different cuts. These pieces are wild. They are really gonna be. They're really wild. And honestly, I don't really even have a strategy for this puzzle, because it being just lines crossing everywhere, it would be either I just start on one corner and literally work every piece out that I can that way, which, I mean, honestly, I don't know how long that would take. Or, y'all let me know what you think. I could potentially zone the puzzle out using the letters on the back, which I know I said I don't want to use those letters, but I could split it up and like pull all of, like, say I could either do it zone by zone, A, put all the A together, B together, C, D, E, F, like put them all together, or I could do like 2 zones at a time, so to make it a little bit more complicated. So like maybe A and B zone, and then C and D zone, E and F zone, or maybe even more complicated, I could do like A and, because I think it's A, B, C, D, E, F. So I could do like A and F zone, and like B and E zone, or something like that. Yeah, I could, sort of swap it all up. Or I could do 3 zones together, so that I have to work through, so so that I don't have the entirety of all the pieces, but I do have, at least a grouping of pieces that I have to work through that will take up an entire section, or opposing sections, or something like that. So that could potentially be, an option, I'm saying. So I would like for you to let me know what you would be willing to accept, okay, for this puzzle. Do you want me to just cold blind do the entire puzzle with absolutely no zoning, nothing? Or would you prefer me to zone it out? And how would you want me to zone it out? 1 zone at a time, 2 zones at a time, or 3 zones at a time? And counter zones, or side-by-side zones, or whatever. Like if I did A and B, C and D, E and F, or opposing A and F, B and E, C and D, or something like that, you let me know. And I will be waiting for your feedback, because I honestly don't know what to do with this puzzle. So thank you very much for joining me, and until next time, peace. JMD Puzzling, I'm out.